welcome back to Hear Me Out, which is a series I am doing where I have people talk and they talk about their professions, they talk about what they do, who they are, their stories, all the things. And like I said, this month this series is gonna be focused on mental health because it's just important to understand. And today we have someone that knows what she's talking about because we had Anna, who's amazing, but now we now have Victoria, and she's a therapist. So she's gonna tell us what she does, who she is, why she started, all the things. So yeah, Victoria, hi.
Hi, Shami. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. And yourself?
Um, I'm all right. We just had a little therapy session before we started filming, and I'm glad I'm not crying right now because my mind is blown. But I'm good. I'm good. So please tell us, what do you do? What do you do? Tell us what you do, and we'll just go from there.
So I'm a behavioral health practitioner. More specific, I'm a crisis counselor, specialized crisis counselor. So I deal with all things mental health and all things crisis. So that could be somebody who has homicidal or suicidal ideation, somebody who's dealing with substance use disorder concerns, or somebody who's also dealing with chronic issues that do come up with the use of substances. So generally, when somebody is using substances, they do have co-occurring mental health concerns. That could be PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. That could be dissociative disorders. That could also be, let's see, what are the conditions that people have? Paranoia,
Mm-hmm.
psychosis,
Yeah.
auditory hallucinations. So all things that co-occur with substance use, as well as all things that have to do with mental health and crisis. That is what I do on a daily basis.
That's so cool. That is actually so cool. How long did it take you to like learn all of this? Like to go to school for this? Because I know like doctors in general, it takes a long time.
So I actually did my master's in science at the School of Social Work, and that took me 2 years.
Oh, okay. Shortcut. We see you. Okay. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool. So many questions are going through my brain. So because the series kind of focuses on mental health and all that stuff. What is the psychological term English? For what is like mental health defined as? What are mental health issues defined as, so that people understand like what it is, and just learning, just learning. Um, from what you've kind of read and understood and studied and seen. Yeah.
Uh, so you want to understand what mental health is?
Yeah, what is the definition of mental health issues, like in a book? If someone was like, define mental health issues, like what is the definition, if there is one? If this is a question that you're like, I don't know, like I'll I'll redirect it.
Well, that could be, I think it's a person's condition in regards to their psychological and emotional well-being. So your
Mm-hmm.
state in regards to your psychology as well as your emotions. That's what
Mm-hmm.
would be mental health in a nutshell.
Yeah. um so I have so many questions right now. Oh my gosh, my brain. Um, Basically, I think something that people in Zim struggle to understand, or around the world, like what are some symptoms that you can tell like someone is like not okay, is struggling with anxiety or depression or suicidal thoughts. Like sometimes there are high extremes of um sometimes people just don't know, and sometimes people are unaware of what's happening with someone, and if they're like any tell signs that you can, you know, like tell, like, oh my gosh, this person is depressed, not just sad, but this person is actually depressed and they need help. Like, what are the signs that are usually collectively in those certain things like depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts? Like, how can you tell that someone is going through that, and how can you help them as a person when you don't have like a psychologist at hand, or you don't know who to call? Yeah.
So it's really difficult to be able to have a definitive, thing to say this is what somebody who is dealing with mental health looks like, because again, there are people who deal with mental health conditions in their function. So sometimes somebody could be depressed or dealing with chronic depression, and they could be showing up in the right way, doing everything that they need to do. And I think that sometimes it takes somebody who probably has a trained eye to notice that something is not right with this person. And in cases where somebody is probably presenting in a certain kind of way, um, sometimes when people are very sad, that could be a sign that there's something that is going on with them. When people are feeling hopeless or worthless, when people have low energy, you don't want to do anything. And when people sort of we call it normal daily functioning. When somebody is not functioning the way they used to function, or doing the things that they used to do, or enjoying the things that they used to enjoy, then that in itself could be a sign that there is something that is going on with that person. For instance, if somebody's not sleeping well, if somebody's not eating well, if somebody is not taking care of their physical hygiene well, if somebody's not taking care of their personal space well, those are some of the things that you can be able to say, okay, wait, why is this person doing certain things that they were not doing before? Is there something to it? So generally there is something that is called an MSE, a mental status exam. You sort of ask different questions to sort of understand, what is your mood? How are you feeling today? Are you struggling to put your thoughts together? Are you struggling to sleep? Are you hearing voices? Are you seeing things that other people are not seeing or hearing, in terms of your ability to concentrate and remember things? Are you able to still concentrate? Are you able to remember things? So it's a comprehensive assessment that gives you a holistic understanding of, okay, what is really happening with this person? Are they in crisis, or are they at a certain level where maybe you need to probably provide support, and you need to connect them with certain resources, or you need to tap into their social supports and make sure that they are not alone and dealing with things by themselves. So again, it has to be a conversation, and you have to be somebody who also pays attention to be able to notice those little differences, because it can be just something seemingly very minor that can push somebody over the edge, in the next thing that somebody has committed suicide.
Yeah. Um.
So again, I always recommend pay attention to your loved ones.
Yeah. And I think especially with that, like, handling people with care is something that we don't always do, even if they're not okay, but we just genuinely don't understand like what someone could be going through, because we know how to mask it, we know how to pretend that we're not okay, to pretend that we're okay when we're not okay. um and I think those are very useful tell signs to be like, oh, this is something that you out of things that are like out of character, and um things that you wouldn't that person wouldn't be doing like on a day-to-day basis. um and I think it's very important to know, like what I said in the first one with Anna, like just handling people with care and handling yourself with care, and like um always speaking up when you're not okay as well. um ooh, so like I was saying, handling people with care, and that's something that's very necessary, and like what you said is like, um I think that that really just helps people like to know how to deal with those situations. um and so,
Sorry,
so
if I could say something,
yeah, sure.
and I think it's not just about us handling people with care. I think it's about just creating an environment where we remove the stigma around mental health. I think people are not comfortable to talk about their feelings because, again, the moment I
Yeah.
say I'm sad, people don't know how to respond to that, and people don't understand what's actually happening. So I think that there's always that stigma, and there's that environment where people have not been accustomed to talk about certain things and to
Yeah.
normalize certain things. So I think
Mm-hmm.
beyond just it being an individual thing, I think that we sort of have to figure out how do we create those environments where people are comfortable talking about feelings and being able to be received in a certain way so that they get the
Yeah.
support that they need.
Yeah. Exactly. I think the environment is extremely important that people create for other people's emotions and feelings to be heard. I think what you're talking about crisis man when people are in crisis, can we just talk about that more because I think um it's very easy to I think for let me speak on my behalf when I won't speak on your behalf people because I don't know your story, I don't know what you've been through, I'll speak on me and me alone. I think for me when I've been in states of crisis, and if you could just give us a definition like once I finished explaining what I'm explaining, like when you're in a state of crisis and things are like, when you're in a state of like you can't control it or something traumatic has happened, I have tended to shut down or to not or to just push everything to the back of my mind. um but then instead of it like going away, it doesn't go away, it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and would lead me to explode or to like have breakdowns and all of this stuff, or to do other things that are not that I don't usually do, or to act in a way that I don't act. And I don't think we've ever been taught how to handle when we things when we ourselves when we are in crisis, or what do we do, or um how do we just cope, not cope, maybe cope, but how do we not survive but just heal through the after effects of you going through something like drug abuse, or um a mental health, like you have a mental breakdown, or you've been raped, or you have experienced a big traumatic change or a small traumatic change in your life that drastically changes how your perspective of life is, how everything in your circle has been. Like, we're never really taught how to deal with it. It's just like, whatever, so how do you um deal with a moment of crisis? Like, how do you deal with the after effects, like after that thing has happened, whatever that event has happened that has been traumatic? How do you heal from that and not run away from it, and effectively have tools to um after that event to not just survive but to live? Yeah, so yeah, that's my long-winded question.
No, that's a very winded question,
I
but
was
I could
like going
say,
around.
yeah, you were going around. You are. But how do you deal with crisis? How do you deal with the aftermath of a crisis? I think that the most important thing is to recognize that something happened to me, and because something happened to me, it does um, after effects. For instance, if we say that there was a physical crisis or maybe like an earthquake, we know that
Mm-hmm.
after an earthquake, the life is going to be different. Things are going to be different. How we used to operate, the resources that we had, and all the other different things that we had. So I think it's just the same way that you deal with a crisis. It's being able to recognize that, okay, this is where I was, that state of equilibrium, and this was my normal state of functioning. And then when this thing has happened, it has shifted my functioning. So how do I get back from that space where I am, that we call the crisis, to that normal state of functioning? So it's being able to recognize that, have I faced a similar experience in the past, and how have I dealt with a similar experience? But again, because a lot of people have never, maybe they may not have experienced a crisis and managed to deal with it well, they're not able to sort of go back in the past and sort of see how best they handled certain situations. And that's okay if you don't have anything that has happened, you can sort of draw strength from. But again, it's being able to recognize when the feeling starts to happen, or when the different experiences that is a result of the trauma start to happening, being able to identify that is happening and this is connected to the trauma or to the experience that I had in the past, and being able to accept and sit in the moment and not dismiss it, because things that are dismissed and things that are sort of suppressed, they will always materialize. Like, you cannot solve issues by brushing them under the carpet, because at some point you still have to deal with those issues. So it's being able to recognize that something happened to me, and all these feelings, symptoms that I'm having are not me necessarily, but it's a reaction of that thing that happened in the past. So how do I then go back to the past and be able to reconcile and understand that, okay, if it was maybe, for instance, physical abuse, you have to be able to come to terms with, okay, sometimes the first thing that happens is you want to deny that it happened to you. And that's another way of coping, because you want to sort of dissociate yourself from that experience. And sometimes you deny that happened to you. And then sometimes you're upset and angry. Why did it happen to me? It shouldn't have happened to me. Why should I have been the one to face that situation? And that's, again, another normal way. You are going through emotions and different feelings. So being able to recognize that, okay, at this certain stage, I'm in denial state. I don't believe it happened to me. I don't want to believe it happened to me. But then being able to move from one stage to another, that's part of the healing process. Don't stay too long in denial, because when you stay too denial, you're not able to address that issue. So moving from that stage to, okay, this happened to me, and I'm going to be able to accept that this happened to me. And then also being able to recognize that when things happen to us, it's not our fault. So removing that ownership and that sense of guilt from yourself to say, okay, this happened to me, maybe I deserved it, or maybe there's something that I did that made me have this experience. Being able to forgive yourself for those things that happened to you that you have no hand in. And then being able to say, okay, now I'm allowing myself to relive those experiences, as difficult as they may be. It's me being able to go through the motions and tell myself that, you know what, I am passing through. This is not my trajectory. This is not something that I'm going to sit in, but this is something that I'm allowing myself to process, so that I'm able to completely say, I have healed from this experience and I've moved on. But again, that does not happen in isolation, because I think the struggle that we face is, you want to be able to heal, but you want to heal in private. Healing in private is difficult, because again, because you're the person who is in that state, sometimes you're not able to pick yourself up and clean yourself nicely. So you need other people to be able to tell you that, you know what, Shami, is something on your back that is something you're not able to see. So don't
heal in. See my back.
Exactly. So don't be comfortable healing in private. But that takes a lot of strength and courage. And that's where you have to lean in on the social supports that you have. Identify people who are close to you, people in your circle. This could be providers that you can trust, that you can be able to share those vulnerable experiences with. Because again, like I mentioned, you cannot heal in private. That's not a thing. That won't happen. That's where you begin to brush things under the carpet. That's when you start to have those dissociative tendencies, because again, you are struggling by yourself to deal with something that is probably a huge weight that you don't have the strength and the capacity to carry on your own.
Whoa. My brain. Like, so I think I've also kind of done this, like, where I'm like, I need time to myself, I need to heal by myself. Like, I think we have this thing where it's like, it's just gonna be you, Jesus, and your Bible, and you think that's going to be like enough, but then it's like, you can't see your back. I can't see my back. I need help, literally. For you scratch my back, like sometimes you can't, I can't like reach down, like, and we normalize isolating ourselves through healing when we're healing, instead of going to people and being like what people do, like when they go through AA, like or they go to a meeting with people and they talk about their feelings and they talk about this, they talk about that, because you can't just go in a dark room by yourself and that's just it. Like, we've normalized you just go in the dark room with Jesus, that's it. Like, I'm not saying that's not enough, but like there's another step where it's like you need people. Why are people? We're not just here breathing in air just to, we're not just here existing, we're here to help. Like, whoa. Like, because we sometimes feel that what we experience may be too much for other people, when other people are like, we are here to help. Like, we genuinely want to like see you be better. Whew, that hit my heart. That
And
is so
sometimes,
true.
and sometimes I think that also we are afraid that people are going to see you differently. Like, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
Shami before trauma and Shami after trauma. If you tell people that I was sexually abused, I think there's that fear that, okay, how are people going to see me? Does that taint
Mm-hmm.
my image? Does that taint who I am? And how are people going to
Mm-hmm.
perceive me? And I think that we carry that to inform the way that we heal or the way that we allow ourselves to heal, because you're constantly worried about what is the other person going to say, what is the world going to say, how are people going to perceive me after I've experienced this. But again, that's you feeling guilty and carrying that weight that you don't need to carry, because again, you're not responsible for other people. You have to take ownership of your healing, and if it means that you have to speak to somebody about it, then so be it. Be comfortable confiding in other people. Just find the right circle that you can trust and that you can share your experiences with. But again, I will always insist, do not heal alone. That's not a thing. That's not gonna work. You're only just running yourself down the drain. Don't try that. It doesn't work.
You're not responsible for other people's feelings. Is that what you said? Because I probably zoned out because my brain was blown.
Yeah, exactly. People are going to feel the way they feel. People are going to talk the way they talk. People are going to do things regardless. So, I mean, why should you be carrying other people's feelings and thoughts and emotions and reactions? That's not a you thing. That's a their thing. Focus on yourself and do what you need to do to heal.
You're you're talking to me because I have like, I think with growing and me growing as a person, I'm just worried what are people gonna think. I'm so young. People gonna be like, ugh. And now I'm just like, I can't be worried about, like, either way, whether I do something good or whether I do something that I feel like is good, you're still gonna be like, oh, but we feel like this and this and that. And whether
Absolutely.
I do something that's like, you're still, people gonna have their feelings anyway. Like, and you can't live your life for people that don't even know your middle name. Let me tell you something. If you don't know my middle name, if you can't even type it when you see me post this on Instagram, like, oh Shami, your middle name is blah 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 blah. Like, hush. Like I'm not responsible for how you feel. I will acknowledge your feelings, but eh, I can't live for you, man. Like, my healing is my healing. Like, I have to be able to sort this stuff out, and whatever you think of me is whatever you think of me, man. I'm still gonna be living my life after I heal. So I think it's, and I think sometimes we give people too much power. Um, like, we give people too much power and what they think and what they feel, especially when you've gone through. I think, no, I'll speak on my behalf again because I can only speak on my behalf. I think for me, when I had my mental breakdown, I carried a lot of shame and I carried a lot of shame, um, because I I knew certain people knew stuff, like people knew, like my parents were aware, certain family members were aware, like everyone knew. And it felt like people were just watching me, and I felt like I had to prove something. I had to do this and I had to do that. And it's taking me like a couple of years to realize either way, you're gonna think what you want to think. So I really can't. I just have to be better for myself. Like, I can't be worried about you. And I feel like that's what 2020 taught me. Being in a pandemic, being isolated at home, where we think people are gonna care about what we dress like, what we think. What if they know this? What if they don't do? What if this and that? But then now we had a moment where everything was shut down and all of that didn't matter. What you wore didn't matter. Like, what you had done in the past, that didn't matter. So it's like, why am I spending all my life worrying about people that I won't even see for an entire year, who probably don't even know my middle name? Like,
And again,
people too
Shami,
much
to
to
your point,
power.
there's
Yeah.
there's something that's called so we have something that we call defense mechanisms. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when we find ourselves overly worried about other people, it can be us projecting how we feel on other people, and it's not necessarily them feeling that way. It's you having your
Yes.
insecurities, having your
It's
fears,
me.
having your anxieties and your worries, and then because you have all those things, you want to be able to say, okay, this is just not me having this. Everybody who's looking at me feels that way. Everybody's looking at me in a certain way. Everybody's afraid. Everybody's, it's you just projecting certain things. So I think that sometimes rather than also looking at other people and saying and feeling like, okay, they should change or they should do things a certain way, look at yourself and be honest and realistic with yourself. Like, am I the one who is having these fears? Am I the one
Yes.
who's having these concerns?
Yeah.
To me creating this whole huge mountain where everybody, I feel like everybody's against me. When you know what, sometimes people are not even paying attention to you. People are always dealing with their own struggles and traumas and all the different things that are happening. And you make yourself such an integral part of everybody's life that every time you see other people, you feel like, okay, what are they thinking about me? They're out to get me, they're trying to do this. They say this, it's probably alluded to me. They did this, it's probably because they're trying to say this to me in a hidden way. I mean, sometimes people don't actually care about you. Sometimes people don't have time for that.
That's the truth. And once again, you're talking to me. This is a therapy session that people are going to have to see on the interwebs. But like, no, like, I think also with that, like, we can be our own worst. No, I'll speak on my behalf. I can be my own worst enemy. And I think realizing that, like, I have insecurities and fears and all of the stuff that I personally need to deal with. And frankly, because sometimes I don't even be thinking about people and what they're wearing and what they're doing. I'm more worried about myself. So why am I worrying about someone else who I don't even know, trying to impress whoever for the sake of whatever? And it doesn't put me in a right state of mind. And I think understanding that we don't need to give our fears and our insecurities so much power, we can actually be like, okay, let's break it down. Why are you feeling like this? What's going on? What made you feel like this? And kind of seeing, oh, when you see it, when you journal, when you type it out, you'll be like, oh, girl, chill. You can actually be like, don't worry. Like, and if you talk to someone, they'll also be like, now you know those are your insecurities, and no one is out to get you. So let's just breathe, calm down, and just, you know, I my brain is blown right now because you're not dropping gems, you're throwing gems at my face, and I'm just like, okay, okay. But I feel like that is that's just good. I see why you do what you do, because this is very interesting. Like, this is what. Oh, I didn't ask that question. Why did you start this? Why did you start this? Because there must have been something in you that was like, I need to do this. Like, because this is very complex, like dealing with people and their trauma. It's stuff that takes a toll on you, and I hope you have a good therapist, because therapists also need therapists, because but like, why did you start this? Like, what led you to start therapy, treating people, helping people, and all that stuff?
Uh, Honestly, I would say it in a, I don't know if people will be able to understand that, but it's a calling rather than it is a profession. Because
Mm-hmm.
again, as you mentioned, this is heavy work, and it's not something that you do because you are looking to get compensated in terms of finance. It is
Mm-hmm.
something that calls you, and it is something that finds you. I don't know if that makes sense. I think for the longest time in my life, people have been comfortable coming to me to talk about things and processing things, even heavy stuff. And that's when I realized that, you know what, this is who I am. Wherever I go, it finds me.
Yeah.
Even when I'm just trying to be, to
Normal.
do regular stuff,
Yeah.
everybody who I sort of encountered. The other time I was having a driving lesson, and I was, my instructor was talking about certain things, and it just became a therapy session. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, this is just clearly who I am and how I'm conditioned. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
conditioned to talk to people and how people talk, certain things that we're dealing with. So, in a nutshell, and also just being able to grow in an environment where mental health, therapy, those are things that are not accessible to us. People always
Mm-hmm.
assume that when you talk about mental health, we're talking about craziness. People who are crazy are the ones that need mental health. But also being
Mm-hmm.
able to recognize that all of us are at some point every day in our lives dealing with something mental, and we always need to have that space where we can talk about our emotions. So that's why I do this work that I do every day, and I love this work. It's heavy work, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
and like I also
Yeah.
say, but it's very fulfilling because you get to make a difference every day. Every
Yeah.
conversation is that you get paid to talk. Every conversation in itself gives birth to something that's brilliant and amazing.
Yeah. That's great. You're good at it. Um, you're really good at it. I think for me, like you, when you said you get paid to talk, that is why. If you haven't heard me say this before, this is why I started Shine Your Light, because I like talking. I talk so much. I like doing these interviews is me trying to like just listen to people, so that when I'm with my friends I listen, but also know that when I it's time for me to talk, it's time for me to talk. But it's like, but talking is really fun, and I can talk forever. And I think, like what you said, it just calls you. Like, even with me, like, I would just listen to people and I'll tell them advice until I was red and blue in the face. Not literally, because if I could go red and blue, that would be interesting. But but there's some things that just you were meant. This is what you were built for. This is what you were made to do, and like, I feel like you're the type who's ruthless. Like, you just be like, okay, this is what it is. This is what it's not. Like, you seem very sweet and all, but like I can see it in the tone. You're like, no, this is the thing. This is the issue. We have to deal with this, and that. No questions asked. I will love you, but also I'll give you a slap in the face and a hug at the same time. That's what I always say, because sometimes the truth hurts, but you also need like a little hug, you know? But that's actually pretty. Ooh, I like that. I like it. Um, so I think to kind of close off the conversation, because man, I think people just need to go process, go cry, go journal after this conversation. What do you do besides this, like, to just make you happy when you're not like putting your therapist hat on? Like, what brings you joy? What sparks your joy?
That's a really tough one because again, I talk. I love to listen to people going through things, and I
Yeah.
love to help people navigate their different issues. So I have a couple of mentees, and I talk to them about our relationships, and all things fun and teenage stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I
In my
think
brain,
that
I was like, Why did we talk about this? Don't worry, we're gonna have another conversation about relationships, love, and all things because people, you know, that's a conversation for another day. But sorry, continue. My brain.
Yeah, so I do talk. I do help. I do sort of provide mentorship and guidance to young people, especially young women. And
Mm-hmm.
I am on several boards for women's empowerment issues. I love to deal with women's empowerment issues, provide support to women, create holistic environments where women can thrive. So basically, I am involved in work to support women and young girls. And I also love floral arrangement. I guess that's a thing. I love to put
Ooh.
flowers together. And I love to shop. I like to shop sometimes. I do shop. I can shop.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
I love that. The flower thing. I'm just like that seems. I would. I don't think I would ever do that because me and flowers. Just give me chocolate. But um um but shopping. I also don't like shopping. But it's good that you like shop. I know I'm weird. Like
Yeah, I
it's
like
good that you
shop.
like shopping.
I'm lazy when it comes to shopping, so I like to shop online. So it's like I say today is my
Uh.
shop. I go
Mhm.
online, and I also just more like have a uniform trend. So I generally
Yeah.
like jeans a lot and shirts. So I just go online. I have 2, 3 stores who know my size, who have things curated for me. So I just go online, go to those specific stores, buy a bunch of things that look the same, just different colors, and that's my shopping experience. Mm, yeah.
Uh. I think I think for me shopping is I like clothes, but shopping itself is just tiring. Like it's a lot of energy.
It
I
is,
like wear I like the nice clothes, like but yeah.
but you'd rather have
But I
something.
think yeah, yeah, but the flower arrangement thing, that's cool. That's pretty cool. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
I love that. I put nice things together, nice arrangements together. I'll send you a picture of one of my arrangements. I think I actually have one in the house.
Yeah, please. I like things. I like seeing things, I like getting to know people. I like to know what they do. Um um but I think with every just to round off the conversation, you're coming back. I'm just saying it. I'm gonna do like a double. Sorry, you're gonna have to make time in your schedule again for me because the relationship stuff. I'm like, oh yes, I want to talk about that, and all of that stuff. But that's um. But I think with everything that you said and you talked about, I think you provided very like practical but also very like this is that, like it's not like people can take no. Guys, make sure you're taking notes. Watch this over and over and over again until you get it into your brain. Like it's gonna be there for eternity, so make sure you like take advantage of this free resource. For free. Come on, people who I personally like free, but like um um but thank you so much for like throwing gems. I'm gonna stop saying dropping gems. You guys are just throwing gems at me, and I'm just like, whoa, ow, 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 like. But like this was an entire therapy session for me. I'm gonna go journal after this. But thank you so much. Thank you for just taking your time to be a part of this and talking to the peoples and helping us people out who don't sometimes are trying to figure it out, but you have tools and resources that could help us and all that stuff. But I'll make sure that I tag you and everything so that people can follow you and stalk you and be like, hi, can you help me with this relationship stuff? Or can you help me like with like I'm going through stuff and I don't know how to manage, and the video was great, but I wasn't enough. Don't worry, peoples, we got you. We will like I'll tag everything you guys need. But thank you so much. Like I really appreciate it. Thank you for, you know, taking your time to talk to me. This was really fun. I had fun. I hope you had fun. I hope I had fun. I hope you
Okay,
had
thank
fun.
you. Thank you very much.
Great. Yeah, so I hope you have an amazing day. And well, it's day. It's evening here. Is it day?
It's afternoon.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like 7:20 past 7. Yeah. Um, but yeah, thank you so much. And I hope you have a great day.
Thank you, Shami, and I hope you have a good evening.
Thank you.